Hello, Games Done Quick. My name is Lat Mackey, and this is Pac-Land. Specifically, Pac-Land for the TurboGrafx 16. If you ever visited an arcade in the mid-'80s or late '80s, Pac-Land was like a staple in the arcade, and it got ported to a bunch of consoles, and this version that we're playing is the TurboGrafx 16 version. I am the current world record holder in Pac-Land, but I am the only person who has submitted a time for this game, so take that with a grain of salt. But that being said, there actually are other people playing this game on various different consoles. It was actually kind of a really popular game, especially during the late 80s and some of the early 90s. It was still in arcades back then, and it has something kind of unique to it, but it doesn't, this may not translate well to a marathon setting, but it makes the game really fun to play. And that's, Pac-Man is going to run left and right, and when you make him run left and right, you actually press the buttons down instead of the directional pad, and you use the directional pad to jump. And you do this because they were trying to simulate the arcade experience at home. Does it work? I don't know, but it's really fun to play. It's a great speed game, and it's also a really great casual game as well. So there's like multiple things going on. So this is my current best time, the current world record, if you will, in Pac-Land. And once again, we're playing it on the TurboGrafx 16. So we're going to take 4 trips, which consists of 16 rounds. And it's a fairly quick run. There's not a whole lot to it. It is skill-based, but there is quite a bit of RNG that makes the game fun and exciting every single time you play it. So this is basically the gist of it. It's running and jumping. As you saw there at the beginning, Pac-Man runs away from his family at the beginning of the game. Apparently, he's running there because there's a fairy in his hat that he has to give to the Great Fairy. I don't know. It's a little bit convoluted. Apparently, it's based on a cartoon from the late 80s and early 90s. I don't remember seeing the cartoon as a kid. I was alive then, but I don't remember ever seeing or hearing the cartoon. But, everyone knows Pac-Man. And this plays on a lot of the conventions that was already established on Pac-Man, which is super interesting. You knew Pac-Man ate these Pac pellets, and you knew he had cherries. I mean, these were all part of the game that was, the first arcade game you might have played in Pac-Man, and they tried to put him into a side scroller, it seems like. Those ghosts make really weird noises like UFO sounds. Don't know why. Are they supposed to be UFOs? Who the heck knows? Some of the interesting stuff here is that when you jump with Pac-Man, there's really very little control over his jump, and he jumps a predetermined height every single time. It's the same height every time. So you have to be careful when you're actually pushing the jumps, and so that's what kind of creates some interesting strats as you're running back and forth during the game. There's all these break times, and then the fairy flies out of his hat. Why does it happen? I don't know. This is actually a great marathon game because it doesn't have any real places where at least that I haven't found yet, there's no soft locking, there's no places where the run dies. If you lose all your lives, you continue from the same break point. So, which I haven't had happen to me in my last 2 PBs, which has kind of been great. There is some deaths in this PB, and I'm currently on trying to get a deathless run. I've gotten a lot closer. You'll see in this run, most of the deaths just come at the end, which you can just kind of hey, they happen. Hey. Anywho, so this is what happens at the end of a trip on the third round before the last one. And you get to the spot, and the happy music plays, and a fairy flies out of your hat, and then another fairy appears, like the Grand Fairy. And then, here's the fun part at least, now you're running back to your family. Now this makes sense. Like, Pac-Man's just not taking off on his own. He's doing his own thing. There are some cutscenes at the ends of certain rounds and certain trips, and those are great places to read donations. There's a lot of, there are opportunities, even in a 12-minute run right now, there is some great opportunities to read those different, donations. So there's places that set up. When you run backwards, you notice it's not exactly the same stage. On the first trip, you're just going backwards over the same trip. But on trip 2, 3, and 4, it's actually a completely different stage that you're going to play backwards to. Anyway, there's Pac-Man's family. Wave. Not 100% sure that's Miss Pac-Man. It wouldn't make sense if it was, because Miss Pac-Man not married, right? It's a miss? I don't know. Anyway, don't need to qualm over those tough questions in life. Here are the ghosts driving the cars. You saw them in the first trip, and they are back in the second, third, and fourth trips as well. You get some new enemies. They're fun. It's the same premise. You're still just running to the right, more running to the right. Oh, and there's a jump, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. So it's I don't know. That's what it is. If you jump right at a certain point, you get an extra bonus life. This is one of the great casual great things about this game is if you're playing it casually, there are all these hidden secrets and fun things like that where you can get build up a bunch of points. There's a bunch of different ways to play this game, and I think that's why it has such great replay value. Probably why it stayed in the arcade as long as it did, because there are multiple different accomplishments and achievements as you're playing this game casually. To jump over these pawns is this really weird button mashing thing. So if you hear that on the audio, that's me mashing buttons. Really, you have to hold the jump and then mash the forward button as you're doing this as fast as you can, trigger finger, you know, and you go forward. Let's see, and then there's another break, and here you are there. If you jump at the right spot, you get an extra 1,000 points at the end. It's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. And then now finally you're going to see something you haven't seen yet. So there are water stages, and Pac-Man can't swim. And I got to tell you, as a superhero, I don't want to discriminate. I really don't. But he's like Pac-Man. Shouldn't Pac-Man be able to swim? Well, in this game, he can't. So we got that. The water is not his friend, and everything is trying to kill you. The fire hydrants push you forward. The waterfalls suck you into the water. I don't think I hit any waterfalls in this run, if I remember correctly. So know that is there, and we want to avoid that slows down the run to die to water. So anyway, we get to the end of a stage. We get excited because we get to drop off another fairy. And we get the magic boots, which you'll notice in the first trip, these magic boots are a new mechanic. You do this floaty thing, you can multi-jump. And so like here, you know, now I really need to multi-jump to get through this part here. And it's kind of a new mechanic. It's very cool. The hitboxes are very weird. Like, why didn't I hit that little ghost? I don't know. Those things are actually called baby ghosts, which it's a little weird that, you know, regular ghosts are dropping their babies from the sky. But never mind that. They're just ghosts, right? Okay, I don't know. We gotta watch out for that stuff. So anyway, keep going to the left, and you notice that stage was completely different than going forward. So going to the right. You go to the left, gets a little different. We're back at Pac-Man's family. Hello, hello. And now it's time for a cup of joe. Take a break. Great point for some donations, things like that. And we're about to be... Oh, I just noticed that the green bush had eyes. That's actually... I really honestly just noticed that right now. That's a little creepy. Okay, so we're back to... And now as you'll notice, the difficulty is going to start increasing as we go on with multiple stages, which is probably not that surprising. And one of the things I have been told, because I actually never got a chance to play this game in the arcade, I was probably a Street Fighter kid more than I was anything else. So if Pac-Land was there, I was like, I'd rather play Street Fighter. That this is actually a very faithful port of the arcade game. And that's probably one of the reasons why it was as popular on the TurboGrafx as it was. Many people, you know, the forgotten console that is TurboGrafx 16 here in North America. A lot of people, this was one of the games they played. It's like, oh, I played that game in the arcade. Let's pick it up. It actually sold pretty decently compared to actually how many people own a TurboGrafx in the United States. In Japan, it was actually equally as popular. And one of the things that's there's really no translation. The Japanese and the North American version were almost identical. Just a very few couple things. There was the availability of the Japanese alphabet, but really besides that, break time says break time. It's in English in the Japanese version as well. So kind of a cool way that the both markets got to share the experience together. And so we're going to do some more platforming over some ramps and some caverns and things like that. Pretty standard, pretty simple. It's kind of cool. Some of those logs push against you, so you kind of have to fight them a little bit. Just some precise jumping and things like that. So once again, it's showing off the skill, which is kind of cool that it's a lot more skill based in some of these sections. But as you'll notice, depending on how long I stay on some of those logs, the enemies are going to be in different places. That was a very unnatural turn back that I've done. And it happened a couple times throughout the run because things were not exactly in the same place. Okay, here we go. So the RNG in this game, the luck in this game is super fun and super trolly. It's fantastic. It's great for playing this game in front of other people because there may be an enemy in a new place that I wasn't familiar with, and I'm totally going to face plant it, and that's just the way it goes. Similar in what I did for Bonk's Revenge, I think it's a great way to encourage people to donate, donations per death, especially in this game because some of the deaths can get kind of gruesome. Like you'll take a plane to the face, and I know you should be like pissed at something like that, but it ends up being so funny because it's poor Pac-Man's getting his face impaled by a ghost riding a plane. Case in point, right there. And now that guy, when they're dark, they don't hit you. When they lighten up in the windows, they hit you. And I guess my eyes didn't register what it was doing, and I face planted a ghost in a window. A stationary ghost. It wasn't even a ghost moving. Okay, we'll just ignore it. So we meet Pac-Man's family again, and now we are on the final trip. And this is where the game really starts to get much more complicated, much more interesting to say the least. There are now enemies all over the place, and I have not really had a standard pattern in this level yet, which is like super fun and very challenging. But at the same time, it can be a little nerve-wracking because you don't want to die. You want to get through this thing as fast as you possibly can. And so let's see. So I got through that safely. That's actually pretty good. And the pack pellets. The pack pellets are trolly, man. They give you pack pellets at the end of the most toughest part of the entire stage. That's when they give you the pack pellet, the thing that could actually help you out. I think that's just the developers having fun with you. I'm just saying, they like to see a challenge come to fruition. So this is a different stage. There is actually a maze aspect to this game, and this is the first one you have to go into. It'll be the only one in this run because of the way it's set up. But you need to collect a certain amount of keys, and you don't have to collect all of them to actually beat the stage. And thankfully, I've obviously memorized what I think is the quickest route to get through. It's kind of fun playing this game, is you can actually route some of these things to try to figure out the most efficient way to get to the end. Thankfully, there's not a lot of enemies in there, and makes it makes it interesting. Changes the scenery up. I personally find the music can be a little repetitive at times, but folks on stream seem to really love it. It gives them that nostalgia buzz, hearing that music. So I'll let it speak for itself. I won't hold too much judgment, So here you'll see me slow up just a little bit because, like I said, those waterfalls suck you down. So you want to avoid getting hit by them. It's just obviously a big time suck. And but that fire hydrant, that one's going to push me forward a little bit. And very nice. Got through that pretty well. See, almost died there. That fire hydrant got me. And we're going to wait up here. Not the quickest route, but at least it gets us through without dying, which was the whole idea at this point, is to try to do a deathless run. So we're coming up on the last round back, and this is definitely the most challenging. I just there's going to be some death. Just giving you a heads up, but it's a work in progress. There's really some great strats that are available, and I think once the platforming comes just a little more second nature to me, I think there's some really great opportunities to show off some skill. And folks already have the nostalgia buzz to go with this, so if you put up some skill with it too, I think it's a really fun speed game for people to pick up. I always think I enjoy personally watching a game that looks like it's approachable, and I think this game does because of how simplistic the setup is. There's some death. And so I think that's one of the great things about it, is like how approachable it can be as a speedrun. It's a quick one. It's under 12 minutes. This is like, hey, you can do this, And I think that's great for new audiences who may not be quite aware of a speedrun, or what a speedrun is, or what games get speedrun, and how that works. So this is Pac-Land. You get another cutscene here at the end, which is a total lot of fun. You get Pac-Man sleeping. The category is 4 trips, 16 rounds. It's the only category that people are running right now. And there's either 5 or 6 runners. There's a couple people moderating it. There is actually a community around it. I've actually been really fortunate to have some questions answered very quickly in the community. And it's a fun game. And I just, thank you for taking a moment to look at it. I've said it before, but what Games Done Quick does for charity just blows my mind every time. So really appreciate what you all do over there. And this is Pac-Land. I hope you had a good time watching the run. And I'll talk to you later. Okay, thanks. Bye.